seniors. My friends and I are going to spend just a few minutes today talking to you about how to successfully navigate yourself in the workplace. The professional world is a very different place from college. You are going to find yourself being put into new situations and walking into an existing, functioning culture where you're going to have to acclimate to be successful. Now, there are four main areas that can help ensure that you have a smooth and successful transition from college to the working world. Let's start with the first one, reputation. Who you are and how you present yourself at work is going to be such a critical piece on the foundation of your career. Now, it is imperative that you find a job and a place to work where you can confidently be your authentic self. You should not have to pretend to be someone you're not. But it is equally important that you show the best representation of who you are while you're at work. And that's because a single negative experience can actually sway the opinion of others around you and start to erase all the positive ones that you've done to that point. It doesn't mean that you can't make a mistake. We're human, it happens. But no matter how well you know the business, how smart you are, how long you've been there, if you become known as someone who's constantly late or doesn't take the job seriously, that's what people will start to associate with you. It's what your peers are going to see. It's what your boss is going to see. And eventually, it's what your leadership team is going to learn about you, because word travels fast in the business world. Believe it or not, being liked can actually help your career. So when you're seen as someone that can help get along well with others, that can adapt easily to the work culture, someone that's hardworking and innovative, that is what's going to set you up on a path of success. A positive reputation will help you get that special project or that new job. It's going to get you face time with leadership, raises, bonuses, and it gives you more credibility so that when you have a bad day and make a mistake, it's easily forgiven. So how do you build a reputation? Or if you have one that's not where you want it to be, how do you fix it? It's honestly nothing more than a series of small, meaningful actions. They can seem trivial, but I promise you, it works. Start with saying good morning to people whenever you come into the day. Believe it or not, it actually helps set a mood for everyone in the office. And granted, we're not all morning people, but even just a kind word goes a long way. Ask how your boss is doing. How was their weekend? Start taking an interest in others. Try to remember their partner's name. Try to remember their partner's name and ask how they're doing. Third, go to the happy hour after work. You would be amazed at the amount of business that's actually done off the clock when people have a chance to unwind. Sometimes that's literally where innovation begins. And finally, just do your job. It's okay to ask for help if you're stuck, but truly put forth the effort to do well. Because at the end of the day, the results are what matter, and the results are what's going to set you apart from everyone else. I'm going to hand it over to Sarah, who's going to talk to you more about how to help build meaningful connections with your coworkers. Sarah?
Thank you, Jason. Once you create a positive reputation, it is very important to create a valuable and meaningful network. This oftentimes starts with small talk. As Amy Covey states in her interview with Wired, people will determine how much they like you based on two metrics. One is your reliability, and the other is your likability. Now, there are a few ways that you can convey these qualities during your small talk with a potential connection. An easy way is to prepare ahead of time by understanding most topics at least 3 paragraphs deep. This means you should be able to carry out a conversation about any topic that your connection might be interested in or relate to. However, once you've created these connections, what's next? In Weiner's book, he talks extensively about the topic of the creation of meaningful connections. However, the Huffington Post also released an article about the next step. In Meaningful Networking is truly the future of professional success, Shelley Ratman talks about how to take the small talk and turn it into a real living connection. One of the biggest steps to creating a connection is to foster that new connection. A cold network is as useful as a no network. My best advice would be using LinkedIn to maintain these conversations. You want to have a connection that goes beyond the conversation or a cup of coffee. You want to go the extra mile to stay connected. That way, these professionals can become more of a relationship and can achieve the highest level of professional connection, and that is a down the road connection. It is also important that these conversations are genuine and engaging conversations. Once these conversations and connections have started and been maintained, these professionals can become more than just potential opportunities, but also a resource for professional counseling. Now I'm going to hand it over to Tristan to discuss collaboration.
Hello everyone, I'm Tristan and I'm going to talk about collaborating. Collaborating is about working together to achieve specific goal. When you think about collaboration, you think about working on a project with a team. It is actually more than that when it comes to the workplace. You collaborate with others to also improve your skills and relationship with others in order to achieve your goals. Seeking counsel from others is one of the most important parts of collaboration. When you seek counsel, it maintains a good relationship with others because everyone wants to feel needed. Advisor feels satisfied when being asked, and the inquirer feels the same way when he or she gets the information. Make sure to be transparent. When asking for advice, make sure that to be open or let people know what kind of information you are after and why you're asking in the first place so that they can determine your goals to help you improve for the future. And don't be afraid to show incompetence. Express gratitude after you acquire an advice because it helps promote honesty, productivity, and overall being. When you express gratitude, it indicates positive image to others. By doing it, it can help sustain the relationship that you have with the advisor, and ask for more advice in the future. Whenever I feel incompetent in the workplace, I always seek advice to the coworker who has more experience in the field. I work at a retail and managers would occasionally direct me to work to a different department when it's short-handed. I would seek advice to more experienced workers to inquire about the tasks and how they work efficiently in their department. From my experience, this has always resulted in a good connection between me and the workers that I seek advice to. The next thing we're going to talk about is vulnerability. Showing vulnerability is the other important trait for collaboration. First one is to be confident. Show your vulnerability is by putting yourself out there. By showing your weaknesses, like I said earlier, don't be afraid to show incompetence. Expressing your thoughts, feelings, desires, and opinions to others. In that way, everyone gets to know you better, which will also build relationship. Showing vulnerability is not a tactic. This is a common problem with people as they use vulnerability as a tactic. For showing self-pity to people to like them or to offer them something. Being comfortable with vulnerabilities, exposing weaknesses and disregarding the judgment of others. That way it will let others respect the way you live. Now I'm going to pass it on to Jennifer to talk about delegation.
Thank you, Tristan. As he mentioned, I'm going to talk about delegation. So one of the ways you can show vulnerability is by delegating tasks to other people. When you're delegating tasks to other people, you're showing that you know you can't accomplish every single thing by yourself on your own. So what are the benefits of delegating? When you delegate, you make your workload so much more manageable. When you delegate routine tasks, you can really spend time and effort on those things that matter. And this is also a way to motivate people. Because you're signifying a sort of trust and confidence in the other person's skills and their capabilities. And so it's motivational in that sense. And it's also motivational because it's a way to develop people. You're giving people the opportunity to learn new skills and to advance, to grow, to learn. And so this is much more motivational than the situation where there's no opportunities to learn new skills. If there's no opportunity to learn new skills, then people become very disinclined to work. They become unmotivated. And so delegation is important, and it also promotes a unity of thought. You're engaging in a sort of systems thinking where you have to carefully plan and coordinate tasks, really see how all these individual tasks are going to come together and contribute to the overall success of the company. And so delegation has many benefits, but it's not easy to do because you're dependent and reliant on other people. Because you're dependent on other people to do things, to accomplish tasks, how those people see you is really important to your success when it comes to delegating. And this is really an issue for bosses and employees because there's always been a sort of perceived hostility between the two. And if you think it's exaggerated, if you think it's an extreme issue, there was a study conducted where about 50% of the employees surveyed had actually reported quitting a job because of a bad supervisor, because they did not get along well with their supervisor. And as if that wasn't already bad enough, as if the issue wasn't already bad enough to make the issue worse, to add a layer of complexity, there are also misunderstandings between bosses and employees, these sort of perceptions or gaps in perception that create more hostility. So one example was that employees were about 50% more likely than their supervisors and their bosses to say that conformity and avoiding conflict, maintaining pleasant relationships was a key component of company culture. And so how do we resolve this issue? The answer is in this little quote here. When you ask other people for their advice, you're showing that you really value their contributions, and you're showing that you as a boss are not above the team, you're part of the team. And so there's a sort of cohesion, and you can reduce the hostility in this way. This also helps to improve perceptions of fairness when it comes to big decisions. People are more likely to buy into decisions when they feel that they have had some role in making those decisions. Okay, and now back to Sarah.
Thank you, Jennifer. As you can see, this is a constant cycle of learning, adapting, and presenting yourself. Your image in the workplace is much more clear if you are able to effectively build your reputation, foster meaningful connections, effectively collaborate, and efficiently lead a team. As you leave the college campus and enter into the workforce, make sure you're putting your best foot forward and actively trying to implement these strategies to find your place in the workplace. Thank you.